You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.
Welcome back to The Social Workers here on WCDB Albany. My name is Eric Hardiman, and I'm here with my regular co-host, Alyssa Lotmore. Welcome back, Alyssa.
Hi, Eric. We have a great show today.
We do, yes. What do we have in store for us today? We have with us faculty member Mary McCarthy. Dr. McCarthy is a faculty member here at the University at Albany's School of Social Welfare. She's the co-principal investigator for the National Child Welfare Workforce Institute, which is funded by the Children's Bureau, and she's also director of the Social Work Education Consortium, a partnership between the New York State Associations of Deans of Schools of Social Work, New York State Office of Children and Family Services, and commissioners of local departments of social services in New York State. Dr. McCarthy has worked in the child welfare field for 11 years, both before and after receiving her master's degree in social work from the University at Albany in 1982. She was recently invited to work at Padjadjaran University in Bandung, Indonesia in the fall of 2019 via the Fulbright Specialist Program. And we're going to talk today about your experiences in Indonesia. Dr. McCarthy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric and Alyssa. It's really a pleasure to be here.
So I want to jump right in. I mean, you've done so much here at the University at Albany and with all of the work and things that you're involved in through the university and the other projects you're on. But today we're going to focus on Indonesia and the experience you had there. So let's jump right in by talking about what is the Fulbright Specialist Program and how did this opportunity arise?
So the Fulbright Specialist Program is one of the funded projects through the Fulbright Foundation, which was started by Senator Fulbright in the 40s. And the Specialist Program is specifically designed for senior faculty members. So you can apply, and if you're accepted, they actually match you. A country sees what you bring in terms of your expertise, and that country or a university from that country will apply to bring you to that country for a particular work project. So I've been a member of the specialist program for the last 4.5 years, and the University of Padjadjaran in Bandung, Indonesia, invited me to come for 5 weeks this fall to work with their social work program. Part of what stimulated all of this is that one of our doctoral graduates, Binahadi Rusidi, is a faculty member there now. And so she was really instrumental in saying, oh my gosh, what the University at Albany can offer our university is really important for the development of social work. Yeah. And it asked her rector to prepare this application to bring me there.
So, one of the things that listeners may not realize, but the University at Albany is really networked and connected globally around the world with multiple countries, multiple regions around the world, and this is a really interesting example of a partnership that we have with a university in Indonesia. Can you tell listeners a little bit about UNPAD, which is the university, Padjadjaran, sort of what's the scope of the university and what's social work like at Padjadjaran?
So the university there in Bandung, I'm going to say UNPAD because it's easier than saying the full name of the school. They are one of the most highly recognized universities in Indonesia, and they're a public university. They're located in Bandung, which is in West Java. And they have a full range of academic programs there. They have a school of medicine, they have a school of nursing, they have very, very highly regarded engineering and technology programs, and they also have a school of political science, economics, and social science, and the School of Social Welfare. The social work program is a part of that particular department. Mm-hmm. And within that, they have they have all 3 degrees now, actually. They have a bachelor's, master's, and doctoral program in social work. And in their undergraduate program, they I'd say they have about 600 undergraduate students majoring in social work, and then a smaller master's program, maybe 100, and then a much smaller doctoral program, which is fairly new in its development. So there are 3 other social work programs in the city of Bandung, which is, I think, the 5th largest city in Indonesia. So it's a very significant sized geographic area in the country.
And do you have a sense, and this is a big question, but a sort of where in the developmental process social work education is in the country of Indonesia?
Yes, so it's only been a profession for, say, the last 15 to 20 years in the country, which is basically parallels the evolution of democracy in the country as well. And it's a very rapidly growing field. There are 32 colleges and universities in the country that now offer social work programs. They all offer it at the bachelor's level and many at the master's level. There's only a few that have the Ph.D., but it's also an evolving discipline. So the undergraduate program is really the practice degree. The master's program is more focused on research. But now they've just passed a new law in 2019 to create a 1-year clinical education program that will be right after the students complete their bachelor's degree. So its goal is to really help students develop strong clinical practice skills in the country, and at the end of that 1 year, they will take their licensing exam. They do have a licensing law now that's 3 years old in the country. And so they're really working to build a cadre of professionally prepared practitioners that can go out and help with the human capability development in the country.
So it's great that they're seeing the need for social work and the profession in their country. Can you tell us a little bit more about Indonesia? 'Cause I'm not as familiar as I probably should be about the country. Can you tell us a little bit more?
I'd be happy to. And being there helps you learn a lot about where it actually is located in the world. So it's in Southeast Asia. It's surrounded by the Indian Ocean and the Java Sea. It is actually the largest archipelago in the world, with 17,508 islands. 6,000 of those islands actually have people living on them. It's located just south and west of Malaysia and Thailand, which people might be more familiar with, and it's north of Australia. In fact, Bali, which is an island that I'm sure many of you have heard about because it's so beautiful, is called North Australia there. So the population of the country exceeds 258 million people. It is the 4th largest population in the world. The equator bisects the country, with most of the islands in the southern hemisphere, and more than 300 ethnic groups speak 700 distinct languages. So how have they really brought this country together, which is quite a miracle, I think, in terms of democracy and cultural development, is they have, their motto is unity in diversity. And they have created a single language for the country, Bahasa Indonesia, which everyone speaks along with their mother tongue or their indigenous language. The country is 88% Muslim since the 15th century, but it had a long history of Hindu and Buddhist rulers. And the island of Bali is about 90% Hindu. The other religions are 8% Christian, and the rest are smaller sects of Hindu, Buddhist, and Confucius. The majority of people live on the island of Java and Bali. It's also located geologically in what's called the Ring of Fire. So there are hundreds of volcanoes, with 167 active volcanoes, 18 of which are on Java. And the city I lived in, Bandung and Jatinangor, are right on the side of those volcanoes.
Yeah.
Wow. So how is it adjusting to that aspect?
I loved being there. And actually, we had a few eruptions, but they weren't too disruptive.
I love how she says that so calmly. There was just a few eruptions, and it was no problem.
But it's just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful country, and the weather is spectacular. It's between 80 and 90 every day. In the dry season, it's dry. The fruits and vegetables are great, and the people rival the beauty of the country because they are warm and welcoming and great hosts and hostesses. And I think Eric, who has also been there, can affirm all of that.
I can affirm all of this, Mary. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a really special place, a really unique country globally, and all of the positive things you've said are very accurate. One thing that's also interesting for listeners is that here at the University at Albany, we've had a number of Indonesian students over the years, both in the School of Social Welfare, in the School of Education, in the School of Public Policy, throughout the university system, I think dating back into the 80s, I believe. I mean, there's a long history. Remember, Ray Bromley knows a lot of that history about sort of UAlbany's connection to Indonesia and the way we've tried to support students from Indonesia getting over here to learn from the experience of being in Albany.
And one of the wonderful things about this partnership is the vast majority of them have returned home to Indonesia and are now working in very important positions in different government ministries, in universities, and in not-for-profit agencies, really helping to build the human resource capacity of the country. So I think it's just poised for great development work in this area.
Yeah.
So what was your role when you went over? What were some of the tasks that you had to do as part of the Fulbright Specialist?
So I went for three main reasons, three main purposes that the university asked me to focus on. One was working with the faculty on the new social work degree program. What would the curriculum look like? What might the program development pieces be? I had the opportunity to go into the community and meet with different field sites and begin to see a little bit about the social service agencies, particularly in Bandung. The university is very, very interested in building the research capacity of faculty and doctoral students there. So part of that is disseminating knowledge. So all of their faculty across the university are active researchers, very, very involved with the communities, doing pretty amazing work around community development, micro-enterprise development, economic development, juvenile justice work, but getting that from the research into publications that are then disseminated in the English-speaking world is really quite a lift for people. And so I worked with 11 faculty and doctoral students on their articles. We had meetings together, giving them feedback, kind of helping them think through what might be good possible journals for them to publish in. I brought a resource manual for them about all the journals in social sciences. So it's a way of helping the rest of the world begin to learn about and from the work that's going on there. And the third piece is continuing to work on cross-national research projects. So I've been involved in a research project with Dr. Rasidi on how our undergraduate students in Indonesia and the U.S. perceive social work competencies, and then how do faculty think about teaching to those competencies. And we were very fortunate that Dr. Rasidi also was doing work in Taiwan, so one of our other doctoral graduates, Dr. E.E. Chen, who's at Taiwan National University, we've expanded that research to the students in Taiwan as well. So having a chance to begin to look at what is the development of social work in these three countries is really an exciting opportunity. So I had a busy 5 weeks. I also gave lectures at 5 universities. So.
Well, I think it's amazing because we don't always think when, even as a student, when you're looking at a faculty member, you don't really realize the level of connection to other universities, international, and how really you're expanding the social work profession to other countries and helping other universities develop and grow so they can produce social workers who can really be on the ground and the front lines in their communities.
And I think that social work development is at a stage that might be approximately where the United States was in the 1940s in terms of the real expansion of human services as a way to build human capacity after the Depression, and people realized in this country how diverse the needs were and how pervasive across all classes and social classes and economic classes that social work and other human services really began to take off. And Indonesia recognizes the importance of that human capacity building and is really invested in it.
So, and what do you think, for students and maybe even faculty, community members here in Albany that think about, the extent of learning opportunities that are here in the capital region, and then might sort of wonder, might make the argument that we've got lots to learn here locally. Why should we be learning from someplace that's halfway around the world? And what are the real, in your perspective, what are the real learning opportunities, and what are some of the special things that students can learn from having a more global perspective and more, learning from international experiences?
Well, I think one of the things that struck me every day I was there is how their culture is deeply rooted in a strong sense of family and community. And in the United States, we're much more individualistic in our orientation. And yet I see our social services in this country really trying to learn how to be interdisciplinary, how to be transdisciplinary, and how to be more collaborative. Those are things we have to learn. Indonesians do them naturally. It's the first place they go when they're working in a community. They wouldn't even think about having a community meeting without inviting all the people that live in that community or that village to the meeting. Families don't even think about children going into foster care because children belong in their community. So family members and relatives and even other neighbors step in when someone's sick or has cancer or needs extra support. So I think, and what I learned from their research is that they are studying how those interwoven connections really build strength and help solve problems. And I think we could learn a lot from reading their research and looking at the ways their community integration happens on such a natural level, as a way to begin to reduce the poverty level in our country, or reduce the neighborhoods that have the highest poor outcomes for children and families. What are the threads that bind Indonesian communities together that help create resilience against the hardships that come along in life?
Right.
So will you be continuing any of this work?
So I definitely am available to the faculty to read and reread their articles, and I've done a little bit of that after I've been back here. Also, as they're beginning to develop their curriculum for the new degree program, we're going to stay in touch. In fact, Eric and I were just talking with our colleague in Indonesia this morning about that. So, Eric, maybe you want to share a little about that.
Yeah, so we're continuing, I think the continuation would be part of an ongoing partnership with this university, with the University of Albany and Padjadjaran University in Bandung, and helping them sort of get to the next level of preparing for their, I guess what they're calling it a postgraduate degree program. Yep. So that students that have graduated from their social work program will then need some additional field training to become licensed and certified as practicing social workers. But they don't have a structure in place for this program, for what it will look like, how it will get implemented, how field placements will happen, how students will get in the field community learning opportunities. And so I think from their university perspective, they are really looking for opportunities to learn from us, and to, we've had 100+ years of social work in this country, and certainly of higher education social work training. And so we while I hesitate to think of us as experts in the U.S., we at least do have some experience in how to set up structures for social work education, and I think that's one of the contributions that we can make for them. On the flip side, we really want to continue getting Indonesian students here to the U.S. And coming to the University at Albany and learning from all that we have to offer and helping us. I think both Mary and I have seen at the School of Social Welfare that having Indonesian students in our community benefits us, benefits our student community, benefits the school, and having doctoral seminars and even master's and undergraduate programs where we can have an Indonesian perspective and have a student add to the diversity of conversation that happens in the classroom is really exciting. So we're looking at some more structural ways, sort of a pipeline, if you will, to get students from Indonesia to consider coming over here for their graduate degrees and then going back to Indonesia and making really significant contributions once they've been educated over here.
And the Fulbright Scholarship Program from Indonesia, which is called AMANEF, they have money that can really help support both master's and doctoral students to come here. So I think some of it is tapping into the locally based resources that would be available for students, and then creating the welcoming culture here at the University at Albany. Because the temperature's a lot different here from there. So that's one thing they have to get used to. Is
not just culture shock, but temperature shock. Right.
Well, Dr. McCarthy, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your experience, and also the importance of collaboration and sharing the social work knowledge that you have with other individuals, and also being open to accepting their knowledge and how we can learn from each other. So it's social work in action, and I think you're a great example of how you are moving our social work profession ahead globally.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share my experiences. I have to say, I learned and got so much from being there. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. And I would encourage any of you social workers out there, if you want to go in the Peace Corps or think about, you don't have to be a professor to apply to be a Fulbright specialist. Anyone can apply to be a Fulbright specialist, but just for people to put themselves out there, because it's really a mutual growth experience.
Great. So we've been talking with Dr. Mary McCarthy, who, if you just tuned in, is a faculty member here at the University at Albany School of Social Welfare. And it's been wonderful having you in the studio, Mary. You're always welcome here on the Social Workers, talking about Indonesia, talking about child welfare, talking about all of the very, very critically important work that you do.
Thank you.
Mary knows a lot about a lot of things.
She absolutely does. And we're very fortunate at the university to have Mary as part of our team. Yeah. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode of The Social Workers, which will be on soon, we hope.
Very soon.
We'll give you more information. Stay in touch with our social media to find out about upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening. This is WCDB Albany.
You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.